Hello and welcome to Context. I'm Katie Wilson. President Donald Trump has warned that he will impose tariffs on countries that continue to buy Russian oil, unless Vladimir Putin agrees to a peace deal in Ukraine. In an interview with Time magazine, which was conducted before his January 20th inauguration, but published on Tuesday, Trump said he had a very good relationship with Putin, but criticised him for disrespecting Volodymyr Zelenskyy, describing the Kremlin's dismissal of Ukraine's president as very insulting. Trump suggested Putin could be pressured economically, not by direct US sanctions, but by targeting nations that fuel Russia's economy. If you do business with Russia, we're not going to do business with you, Trump said. He specifically referred to countries like China and India, which have increased Russian oil imports since the start of the war. While Trump maintains he could end the war through negotiations, he offered few specifics beyond asserting he'd push both sides to compromise. He also appeared to soften towards Ukraine, suggesting he would not cut off military aid entirely, but wanted Europe to do more. Trump's remarks suggest a harder line on Moscow, with economic coercion at the heart of his strategy. Joining me now to discuss this further is John Dugan, a political analyst from Moscow, and from Madrid, political commentator Enrique Casero. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Enrique, let me start with you. How does Kyiv view Trump's focus on tariffs over weapons? Does it signal a pivot away from military assistance towards economic containment? And how might that reshape the battlefield dynamic?
First and foremost, I think that what Mr. Donald Trump wants to do is just energize the interior market of the United States. Tariffs could be more a cautionary tale in order to get advantage of whatever international commerce or commerce agreement can be on the table on the next months, probably years. But on the other side of the hand, what he tries to push is the internal consume. So whatever. From my point of view, he is juggling with too many balls on the air at the same time. And eventually one of those balls is going to fall. So let's see for how long he can take the juggling game on the air, and for how long Europe is not gonna answer, and probably Europe is gonna answer in the next weeks. What's gonna happen to China? And I mean, you can send all those threats, not expecting to one of them or several of them getting back.
John, let me bring you in. Trump appears to be moving away from personal praise of Putin towards conditional cooperation. How might this shift affect Moscow's calculation of US intent?
Well, you know, what Putin said about Zelenskyy, yeah, maybe it angered Trump. But just today, I was reading in the news that Zelenskyy already wants to pull out of the minerals deal. Well, this is a deal that would guarantee Ukraine's security, okay? And this is exactly what President Putin was talking about. Zelenskyy can't be trusted. We've already seen with agreements in the past that Ukraine, they only use these agreements as I guess a stepping stone, you could say, to restock and regroup and prepare for war. So we've seen this in the past. Zelenskyy cannot be trusted. Putin is right about this. And Zelenskyy is showing today, just today, that his pulling out of the minerals deal, okay, him saying that we don't want this deal, is showing that Putin is correct, that he cannot be trusted, and that another leader, a more serious leader, needs to be put into place.
So we seem to be focusing a lot on discrediting Zelenskyy here. Is Zelenskyy a threat to the Kremlin?
No, Zelenskyy is a threat to peace, okay? Zelenskyy has been the New World Order puppet for, the last, well, since he was elected. And of course, the president before him was as well, you know. But there's not going to be peace unless Zelensky's out.
Enrique, what do you make of this?
For me, this started with Russia invading Ukraine and put the place in a state of war. As von Clausewitz used to say, if you want to get a peace in order to get what you conquered, you have to accept that you're going to lose some of the terrain, and that's what's on the table right now. That's the dealing right now. But into the game, have come two new players. One of those is the United States and its pretensions over the rare earths of Ukraine. We need to remember that the United States has no rare earths mines outside of the United States, and the United States ones are not enough for them. So my best guess right now is that peace comes with a proxy deal with Ukraine in order to exploit those mines. So it's not only just the invasion that happened 3 years ago, it's kind of a clean, neat way of exit to the war. And I don't think right now to Donald Trump or the United States really matters a lot if that peace comes with Zelenskyy on the power or not. Probably we're going to hear Donald Trump saying that Zelenskyy is not suitable for the post if Zelenskyy doesn't come to an agreement with the United States. But let's see what happens.
And Trump seems to be pushing for a quick peace deal. Do you think Ukraine will be in a position to be forced to accept concessions? And does Ukraine have a strategy if maybe they're not involved in these peace negotiations? How are they going to deal with that?
It's tough because Ukraine right now is greatly dependent on foreign aid. It's really it's a big dependent. Got a big dependency on Europe. It used to have from the United States. So I think that all the capital, all the chips that Zelenskyy or Ukraine can play right now in order to get a peace, in order to get a good treat for them, is not 100% dependent on the Ukraine itself. So it's going to be tough. Europe is going to push a lot, and probably Europe is going to push a lot because they want to keep Ukraine in a status quo in order to restrain Russia, and in order to have the United States glad of the peace treat that they're going to get.
Mm-hmm. And John, what are you making of what Enrique is saying? I see you shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head because I can hardly hear anything that anybody's saying here. But
so we're talking about the Ukrainian concessions, and how does Moscow view a potential peace deal? And do you think they're nervous about what Trump has just said in this interview?
No, they're not nervous because Ukraine is not holding any cards right now. We can see how Russia is pushing forward in the new territories. Saw them here, and you know, Ukraine is collapsing. Europe is mad because there's nothing left for Europe. I mean, the U.S. is pushing for the minerals deal. The U.S. is pushing for tariffs. And if we look at what's happened with the European manufacturing economy, it's in shambles, and it's in shambles because of U.S. policy. Europe used to have 140 million customers for cars and goods and things, but they pulled out, and all that was served to China on a silver platter. This is a big problem that Europe is left with. And now that Trump wants additional tariffs, this is not boding well for Europe as a whole. And I think Europe is trying to push Zelenskyy to get at least something out of this deal.
And you mentioned China. I want to focus on India and China, turn to those economies that Moscow relies on heavily. Is that, in your view, a sign of strength, or is that a strategy?
Well, it's neither. It's, what Russia is left with. Europe used to sell 200,000 cars a year, maybe 250,000 to Russia. And now all of that is gone. I think they sold 4,000 cars to Russia last year. Those 250,000 cars have come from China now, and they're good cars, right? These stupid sanctions that have been leveraged on Russia have done nothing but prop up the Chinese economy and make the Chinese auto industry so much stronger than it should have been. Because now, when the war first started, the cars being sent out of China they weren't very good. Now, if you look at them, they're competing with Mercedes and BMW, right? These are stupid moves on behalf of the U.S. government that has left China the one who's benefiting the most.
Enrique, where do you feel Ukraine is sitting diplomatically at the moment? And do you think this interview is going to have an impact on Ukraine's position in the battlefield and whether they can maintain that?
I think if we have to take 10 steps, I think right now we're in the fourth, the fifth probably. And I'm not saying this because I'm a pessimistic. I'm saying this because we faced this very same situation over and over again for the last months. So for me right now, the whatever is going to happen on the table, whatever is going to happen to reach the peace, whatever is going to happen to end the war, phrase it as you want. I think it's not close. It's not near to us. It's not next to us right now. We're gonna see lots of pressures. We're gonna see lots of movements. We're gonna see lots of dealing around about the crimes of Ukraine. So I'd rather to be patient, and I'd rather to see the whole picture, because as I said, if these are 10 steps in order to reach an agreement, I suspect we are in the fourth or the fifth.
So when Trump says that he can end the war in 24 hours, what do you make of that?
That he can end the war in 24 hours in exchange of what? Mm-hmm. If you can define what are the terms of that exchanging, perfect. It's going to be in 24 hours, and I doubt it, because that deal is going to take more than 24 hours.
John, what do you think? Do you think the war is nearing its end now that we do have this change of government in the White House, or do you agree with Enrique in that actually there's still a long way to go?
Well, Trump said I can end the war in 24 hours. I think it was hyperbole. He's going to end it, and he's working to end it, but 24 hours, it's absolutely not realistic. It's going to take at least months, before all this gets hashed out. But I am hoping that it does end, because too many people on both sides are dying for what amounts to reckless foreign policy on behalf of the United States.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting analysis there, thank you. And what do you make of, the claims that we can end the war in 24 hours and the solution could be that Russia leaves? What do you make of that?
Well, like I said, it's not going to end in 24 hours. But Russia does have the strong hand here. They have the people, they have the equipment, they have the technology. Ukraine is left with nothing. Ukraine is the only reason Ukraine has made it this far is from the generosity of Europe and the United States. And I shouldn't say the generosity, no. They have been using Ukraine as a proxy government to basically weaken Russia, and it's killed hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. And it's a shame, because it should have never have gotten this far. So I say American generosity, but really it's something far more sinister than that.
Do you think the Kremlin is fearing this economic pressure? Do you think they're alarmed by this interview?
No. I mean, look, is there economic pressure? Sure, but at the end of the day, where does the United States get a majority of their uranium and titanium from? It's Russia. And if America wants to play tit for tat, they're not going to have what they need to build their next generation of warplanes and bombers and things like that. So, I think it's a big problem for the United States. I think they can only do so much. And if Russia responds, they're going to be left holding an empty bag.
So when you're in the end of the programme, and I want to get your final thoughts, gentlemen, on where you see this going and where you see this heading. John, I'm going to start with you.
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. Ultimately, we're going to have peace between all the nations. And I think this is an important thing. Trump is the catalyst that will get us there. But Putin is not going to capitulate something that he can get on his own without the United States. So, the Western countries, Europe especially, they need to understand this, because, why should Putin capitulate if he's got other sources like China and India to sell natural gas, to keep the economy going, and to get goods that they need.
Enrique, how about you? What are your final thoughts on this?
Let's wait. We all thought that on the 21st century, every war would be kind of a blitz again, kind of fast, called to be ended, called to be finished in days, and we're dealing with the Ukraine war for 3 years already. So I don't think the solution is going to come overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen probably in the next week, and not even in the next 3 weeks. And we need to clarify. We need to know how the United States clarify what they want to get from Ukraine and what they want to get from this peace. Could be mines, or could be a better commercial agreement with Russia, or could be a new commercial route, could be all of them at the same time. Right now, we need to know what the United States wants out of this peace, what Europe wants out of this peace, and then once we get the sorry for the word game, once we get the pieces assembled, we will see better whatever is going to happen.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your insight there. That's really interesting analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well, as Trump sharpens his tone and signals a pivot towards economic pressure, the question now isn't just how Russia responds, but whether Putin's strategy can adapt to a world where diplomacy is backed not by missiles, but markets. In this new phase, words, tariffs, and timing may prove just as powerful as tanks. You've been watching Context with me, Katie Wilson.